How prominent of a role will the rookies have in week one when Kansas City comes to town? It's going to be more than you think it looks like at this point.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Cardinals. Alex Clancy here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free and available on all platforms. Hope everybody had a good Labor Day weekend. I did. I'm out here in San Diego with the family. Injuries. That's a storyline that's kind of been in the background this offseason because of how many things have happened surrounding the Arizona Cardinals organization. But there's kind of coming to a forefront now because if you don't know, the Cardinals have a football game this week. Sunday, Kansas City Chiefs come into town. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy made easy. Okay? Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. So, Kyler Murray contracts, DeAndre Hopkins suspension, Cliff Kingsbury, Steve Keim, contract extensions. A lot has happened this offseason. And the thing in the background that's been a nagging storyline, I guess you could say, are the nagging injuries that the Arizona Cardinals had, with an exorbitant amount of players. Zach Ertz, Trey McBride, Hollywood Brown, Rondale Moore. Rodney Hudson. There's been guys, and I know that there are injuries everywhere. Like, I get it. I get it. But as we start to get closer to week one, which is 5 days away, it's going to kind of need to be put into real-life application conversations with who's going to be ready for week one. Cliff Kingsbury came out and said he's unsure if Zach Ertz and Markus Golden will play in week one. What does that mean immediately? Offensively, you'd think, they've got options. Well, DeAndre Hopkins is out. Well, they've got some tight ends. Trey McBride hasn't played a snap in the NFL. Are they going to rely on the run game? They're going to rely on, what's it going to look like if Zach Ertz can't play? I'm going to talk about it. Markus Golden, the lead pass rusher for the Arizona Cardinals. It's been kind of a storyline this offseason. I've talked about it a lot on this podcast. And if this is your first listen, thanks very much. If you've been listening since 2017, thank you very much. I truly appreciate everybody who puts their ears and eyes on Locked On Arizona Cardinals every day. The Cardinals haven't done a whole lot for the pass rush. They've got Dennis Gardeck back from injury, got Markus Golden. They've got the 2 rookies in Myjai Sanders and Cam Thomas. Victor Dimukeje from Duke, a late-round pick from 2 years ago, was the best passer rush we've seen during the preseason. He got a lot of snaps. None of the veterans played. But if Markus Golden and Zach Ertz are both out, what does that mean for the rookies and second-year players who will need to supplant them and fill their roles in week one against one of the best offenses this sport has ever seen? Even though, it's a different look, it's the same quarterback, it's the same head coach. So first off, as a whole, before I break down what the defense will look like specifically and what the offense will look like specifically if Markus Golden and Zach Ertz are out, going into week one, especially on the defensive side of the ball, we're going to find out what the floor is for this team. And I feel like you can find the floor easier than you can find the ceiling through 60 minutes of football. This team's going to evolve. This team's going to grow. This team's going to get better. This team's going to mature over the course of a 17-game, 18-week season. That's an obvious statement. But with how many young players are in roles that they haven't, aside from Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson, I guess you could say Byron Murphy also, but Isaiah Simmons, Zaven Collins in the middle of the field. Marco Wilson, second year. Myjai Sanders, Cam Thomas, Lecky Fotu, Rashad Lawrence. These guys are now the guys they're going to need to keep this defense afloat. You've got Zach Allen when he's healthy. Good defensive player. J.J. Watt is J.J. Watt. Marcus Golden. But we're going to find out what the floor is against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, who've had a whole offseason to prep for this game. Obviously, they haven't, probably over the last 6 weeks is when they've really started prepping. Like, if the Cardinals can keep this team to 24 points, if Marcus Golden doesn't play, that's a huge win. And you'd expect the Cardinals to put up more points than 24. The over-under is the highest at, I think, 53.5 going into week 1. So people are expecting a lot of points to be scored. But we're going to find out a lot about the floor of the defense. Like what the worst they're going to look like isn't the right way to say it. But what to expect at a baseline every week for the Cardinals. We're going to find out a lot more about the defense than the offense in week 1. The offense is just going to be like, it's going to have 3 or 4 different faces this season. Without DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown week 1. Without DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown week 4 is going to be a completely different offense. Because he's going to be ingrained. He will have played 3 games with Kyler Murray at the NFL level. And then DeAndre Hopkins comes back, and then it should be all systems go, rocket to the moon. Or at least you'd hope that would be the case. Bottom line, this is going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. And the Band-Aid's going to be ripped off right away to see what the floor, especially of this defense, will look like. Now, if Marcus Golden is out, what will this defense look like with actual players on the field and snap percentages? I'm going to talk about that next because this is going to be a fascinating case study, not only in GM roster building, but maturity and evolution of young players in positions where they absolutely need to succeed to get this team W's. But overall, this is the future of the organization. If this works in 2022, the Cardinals could legitimately have a Super Bowl window and not just making the playoffs window. And that is absolutely riveting, exciting, buckle up. It's going to be a lot of fun. If Marcus Golden doesn't play on Sunday, what will this pass rush look like, especially as it pertains to the young guys? Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. First, I'm going to talk about Prize Picks. Talked about it at the top. I've gone around this app, put a couple cheese sandwiches down, and like, it's nothing I've ever seen before. So if you don't know what Prize Picks is, it's daily fantasy with player projections. Okay. And it's like, okay, so it's kind of like over-unders. And so what Prize Picks will do is they will say Kyler Murray will have 300 or 295 and a half passing yards in week 1. Hollywood Brown will have 5 receptions. Hollywood Brown will have 85 and a half receiving yards. And then you could highlight all 3 of those and then pick over or under. And so I messed around with it. I did a little with baseball and strikeouts, hits. Like, it's so much fun. It's like, okay, boom, boom, boom. And you could do up to 5 and win 10 times your money. Like, it's crazy. It's super easy. Like, I went around it. I mean, and I'm not the smartest dude on the planet. Like, it's the easiest thing in the world. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less in their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less, and I've done it. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Pick app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, they give you $100. If you deposit $50, they give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. Alex Clancy here. Took yesterday off, spent some time with the fam. Thanks for hanging out. Bear with me. I will be here through the playoffs. And remember, every halftime of every game, I will be live on Twitter Spaces and YouTube. Join me. Bring a beer. Let's hang. If you don't have Twitter right now and you want to listen, because it's different, so I've tried Twitter Spaces. It's a little bit more intimate, even though you don't see my face. It's like we're all in like this one little thing together. Bring your questions. You can raise your hand doing that. Bring your comments for the YouTube page. I'm going to be doing it simultaneously. It's going to be a simulcast. If you don't have a Twitter, just make one at Clancy's Corner. You don't even have to follow me. You can just go search at Clancy's Corner during halftime, and I'll be there. We did this last year, worked really well. We're going to do it again this year, or I'm going to do it again this year, and it's going to be really fun. So I'm going to be here for you. If Markus Golden is out, what does that mean for the young guys? What does that mean for Victor Dimukeje? What does it mean for Myjai Sanders? What does it mean for Cam Thomas? Now, the depth chart has Myjai Sanders as the backup for Markus Golden. And they've got Cam Thomas over will linebacker backup, where he's third string. And I mean, I'm assuming they'll be able to move these guys around a little bit. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is Myjai Sanders hasn't shown nearly as much as Cam Thomas did in the preseason. Myjai Sanders hasn't shown nearly as much as Victor Dimukeje in the preseason. They play on the other side, but I feel like Vance Joseph and his wizardry will be able to fashion together a pass rush, as he calls it, pass rush by association, or pass rush in numbers by committee, with Chandler Jones gone. I'm not necessarily more or less worried if Markus Golden goes out. Surely, you want him to play. He's a junkyard dog. He's the leader of this pass rush. But we've seen, and this is it is surprising. And I would be a fool to say, oh, I saw that coming. Cam Thomas played very well this preseason for what we saw. Victor Dimukeje was the MVP of the defense during the preseason. So they've got bodies who can rush the passer. Okay. The Chiefs' offensive line, very good, especially from where it was 2 years ago. So this is going to be a true test to see not only if they can get to Patrick Mahomes, but force Patrick Mahomes into mistakes. This isn't like they're playing the Seahawks and they can get away with it, learning on the go. The reason why I wanted to talk this whole podcast about the rookies is they're playing Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, in this offense week one. Their first test at this level. They're not playing McNeese State as, a tune-up game before the regular season of the college football season starts. That's a far, far cry from this. So while Markus Golden, if he were to not play, would be a setback for this defense, I don't think it's going to be like, well, if Markus Golden plays, the Cardinals will be able to win by 30. And if he doesn't, they will lose by whatever. I feel like we've seen enough from the pass rush this preseason. Like, this was the plan. Load up the offense. They've got enough on the defensive side of the ball. That's what the plan was from Steve Keim. He knows these players more than most. So if you're going to implicitly trust Steve Keim, the Markus Golden not playing shouldn't be that big of an impact. It'll be an impact, but it won't be a win if he plays, lose if he doesn't situation. And that's what we're going to be finding ourselves talking about a lot this season. This is the package that Steve Keim put together. This is the package where he finds will give the Cardinals the best opportunity to stop opposing defenses as it pertains to importance of building out a full roster, because, did a lot on the offensive side of the ball this offseason. So if Markus Golden is out, we're going to find out, Band-Aid ripped off, what the rookies, what the second-year player in Victor Dimukeje, and what Dennis Gardeck are made of. Like Dennis Gardeck was like, I haven't really equated it like this before, but this is kind of, in a sense, what Dennis Gardeck's career has been like. What people remember him for here. He had like 7 sacks and 90 snaps or something stupid like that. It's like Matt Flynn throwing 6 touchdown passes in week 17 in Green Bay and then getting a massive contract in Seattle. And then getting a contract with the Raiders. Like, if Dennis Gardeck can put up numbers 40% of that, he's going to be a Pro Bowler if he plays all year without injury. So maybe it's not fair of me to just write him off. I haven't talked about him a lot this offseason. I haven't. Because he was a depth guy. And now he's not really a depth guy. He's a guy. He's a you're going to play 60 or 70% of the snaps guy. And we'll see. But bringing this home, if Markus Golden does miss week 1, which you hope he doesn't, if he does miss week 1, we're going to find out about Myjai Sanders. We're going to find out about Cam Thomas. We're going to find out what Dennis Gardeck can do. We're going to find out about Victor Dimukeje. Because in all sincerity, if they can get to Patrick Mahomes with regularity and make him uncomfortable, because that's really all you can hope to do, is make Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable. It's difficult to do because he's much more elusive in and outside of the pocket than people think. He's got the running capability and he's got the absolute cannon. If you can make Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable, that's where turnovers happen. Uncomfortability is not the same as pressuring. Uncomfortability is showing him looks that he's not used to. And week 1 is the best time to do it because it's a new offense. I know he played some snaps in the preseason, but it's Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce still, but no Tyreek Hill. It's different. The feel's different. The trust isn't there yet. He's just be able to throw the ball down the field to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill will go get it. It's different. And if the Cardinals can keep him uncomfortable, that would be a roadmap to getting a W at home in week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I'm jacked. I mean, it's here. We did it. Collectively, we did it. We got through the offseason, and the Cardinals did us a lot of favors with the storylines that were infused into the downtime of football. We're here. Patrick Mahomes, week 1. And if the defense can make him uncomfortable, they can get a W with or without Markus Golden. Coming up next, what's the offense going to look like? No DeAndre Hopkins. What if Zach Ertz doesn't play? What does that mean for Trey McBride? What does that mean for running 10 or 11 personnel even more than normal? I don't know, but I'm going to talk about it. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals next. There's one thing that I always talk about here, and it's Built Bar. If you haven't tried Built Bar Puffs, you're depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. There's a new flavor. Okay. I feel like the boss in Other Guys, when at his Bed Bath & Beyond job, where he's getting everybody together, he's the manager there, and he talks about the new bath mats and everybody getting super excited. Total nerd out. I nerd out over Built Bars, okay? All the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it, plus it's healthy for you, okay? Covered in chocolate, 160 calories, 15 grams of protein. You can't fake protein. Go to Built.com to snag a box for you and the family. It's like eating cookie dough. It's like your mom or dad are going to come in and yell at you and say, don't eat that for breakfast. But they don't because it's good for you. Like all Built Bars, the new cookie dough chunk puff is covered in 100% real chocolate. That means they're healthy and tasty, light and fluffy texture, protein-infused marshmallow. It's a beautiful thing. You're going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff, whether you need a snack for your workout, a late-night treat, or just need to grab a quick bite. Built is the perfect protein bar, and they taste better than a candy bar. Ditch your calories, fat, and sugar. Grab yourself a Built Bar. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON15. That promo code's different. So if you've bought Built Bars before with our promo code, go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKEDON15 for 15% off at Built.com. What does the defense look like without Markus Golden in week 1? We'll talk about it. We're going to find out the floor of this defense, especially if Markus Golden doesn't play. But even if he does, We're going to find out this floor of this defense to see what the foundation is, how much growth there needs to be. Because if they keep the Chiefs under 27 points, I feel like that's a win. Like, what you want to do is avoid the 40 burger. That's what you want to avoid, because that I know would be like it's overreaction. It's week 1. I don't like making that sound lightly. They've made moves towards the tail end of the offseason to fill out the defense of this team. But they didn't bring in any true impact makers. And if they give up a 40 burger in week 1, there's going to be questions. But I don't think that's going to happen. If Markus Golden doesn't play, we're going to see a lot of Myjai Sanders and Cam Thomas and Dennis Gardeck and Victor Dimukejian. See what's what. See if Vance Joseph can be electric as he has been over the last 3 years with blitz packaging, keeping opposing offensive lines and quarterbacks guessing. Trey McBride, another guy who's been hobbled this offseason. He caught a pass, I think, during the preseason, ran a few routes. What I was looking for, and if you didn't catch that podcast, it's probably a little bit late now, but in the last preseason game, I was hoping for 5 or 7 targets just to kind of get him in the mix. And the one thing that I do remember, there were a couple incomplete passes thrown to him, but there was one where he was the first option on a 2nd and goal or 3rd and goal inside the 5. And we're going to be looking for that a lot because the Cardinals have a lot of tall wide receivers. Not all wide receivers are 6'4". Like 6 feet to 6'1" to 6'2", that's kind of the wheelhouse. The Cardinals have a lot of 6'4" receivers and tight ends. Zach Ertz, Trey McBride, AJ Green. That's a lot. That's a lot of guys. So with Zach Ertz out, Trey McBride was pound for pound, according to the pundits, the best tight end in this draft. And the fact that he landed on the Cardinals, although I had a little bit of disdain towards it initially because they had so many other glaring needs, cool. If he's going to be the tight end of the future after the end of next season, and he's ready to roll right now, and you're going to see, I don't even like bringing this person's name up, but Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez kind of tandem on top of all the offensive weapons the Cardinals have, that would be, a Willy Wonka chocolate factory scenario. Like, that would be golden ticket. But if Zach Ertz doesn't play, what's the offense going to look like? Say Trey McBride's healthy, Zach Ertz misses week 1. I think he gets the target that Zach Ertz would get. Like, he's ready to roll. And don't look at his Colorado State numbers because they're not pretty. They're really not. But with DeAndre Hopkins out, and if Zach Ertz were to miss time, I think you'd see, obviously, some Hollywood Brown. They're going to put a spy on him and double him. I mean, if you say these 3 things happen, because this is what I've been thinking about. Zach Ertz misses the game. Hollywood Brown gets bracketed all game. What does this offense look like? It's going to be a lot of James Conner. It's going to be, hopefully, Rondale Moore taking a little bit of a step forward here. And, maybe you see Greg Dortch, maybe you see Andy Isabella, but I feel like AJ Green is going to be a guy that is still going to be relied upon in some capacity to move the sticks. Like, I hope people understand how important AJ Green was to this team when DeAndre Hopkins went out. I know it didn't go well. And I know AJ Green's numbers weren't fantastic. But there were very few passing options for the Cardinals. It was AJ Green and Zach Ertz. And Zach Ertz was the better of the 2. But AJ Green was paramount to this team staying in games. So if Zach Ertz misses the game, what is Trey McBride's role going to be? I think he's just going to step in and run the routes that Zach Ertz would have. Like, hopefully this will be just a Rockstar movie scenario. Rockstar, I talk about it a lot, or I have over the course of time. Mark Wahlberg movie. He's a super fan of a rock band, and the lead singer of said rock band looks at Mark Wahlberg, who dressed up just like him in the front row, gave him a microphone one day. Mark Wahlberg jumped up and took over the band. And then at the end of the movie, he did the same thing to another fan. Like, It's like the running back room in Seattle. It's just like, it doesn't matter who's there. There's going to be production. And I feel like that's what's going to happen with Trey McBride. And it's going to be interesting because if Trey McBride comes in and just makes an impact right away, this offense is going to be so much better than it already is. Another weapon. And he's also a great blocking tight end. So if he has a George Kittle comp and ends up at 75% of what George Kittle has done in his career, hopefully without the injuries, like, this offense is going to be great in perpetuity. But to answer the simple question of, if Zach Ertz doesn't play, what is Trey McBride's role going to be? I think he's just going to step in and play as if he's Zach Ertz and just mow in the middle of the field. Just eat in the middle of the field. And I think it's very important to understand that while he does have his shortcomings, Cliff Kingsbury, with this many weapons, he's going to be able to get players in positions to succeed. And all you need is one guy a play to be open. So good luck defending, putting 7 or 8 in the box against James Conner, which will happen at times. Making or accounting for Hollywood Brown's speed, accounting for Rondale Moore's speed, and accounting for AJ Green's old faithful running routes and catching contested passes. Like, that is nightmare fuel for opposing defenses. Because Trey McBride's big. You can't put a linebacker on him. He's too fast. Good luck putting any player but a corner on Rondale Moore. And AJ Green can catch the ball in double coverage still. Like, this is like, a perfect scenario situation. But if Zach Ertz doesn't play, I think the tight end position will be fine. I don't think it's going to be Zach Ertzian, but I feel like it'll be, even with Zach, like, think of it as a young Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert went from nobody knew who he was to a couple games in fantasy football. Oh, sweet mother, I got to put him on for depth. To being 1-1A to Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz would be between the 20s, and Dallas Goedert was Carson Wentz's favorite red zone target, not named Alshon Jeffrey. Like, if you can put in Trey McBride, if Zach Ertz were to miss Sunday, I think you're missing less than if Markus Golden were to miss on the defensive side of the ball. Because Vance Joseph is already pass rush by committee. He's already said it. Kind of said it with a weird smile on his face, too. Like, he was almost, I'm not saying this is the case, but it looked like he's like, well, Chandler Jones is gone, so now I can do what I want. I'm, again, not quoting him. That's what I took away from that. All in all, if Markus Golden and Zach Ertz were to miss week 1 against the Chiefs, it's still the Chiefs. So if they both play, it's still going to be a tough game for the Cardinals to win. But I think with what's been done during the offseason, with those positions specifically, it's not going to be that far of a drop-off. Now, was it going to be that high to begin with? We don't know. Was the pass rush going to be good without Markus Golden or with Markus Golden? We don't know. We're going to find out, Band-Aid ripped off, see where the floor is week 1. Was the tight end position going to be, aside from the first 6 weeks, a super integral part of the offense like it was last year? We don't know. It's going to be integral. It's going to be a part of the offense. But when you have DeAndre Hopkins back, Hollywood Brown, wide receiver 1, James Conner, Darrell Williams, Eno Benjamin, Jonathan Ward, AJ Green, Rondale Moore, Andy Isabella, Gray Dortch, you hear what I'm saying? Kyler Murray's legs. Where's the tight end going to fit? We don't know. And that's what week 1 is all about. So if this were a must-win game and you're missing Markus Golden and Zach Ertz, yeah, it would be way more impactful than week 1 in it's like the first real preseason game or the last real preseason game. You're not going to find out a whole lot about the extent of how far a team can go just from week 1, but you'll be able to get kind of a feel about what trends could be continuing throughout the rest of the season. It's going to be fascinating. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thursday, we have the crossover with Chris Clark and Ryan Tracy from Locked On Chiefs. It's going to be fun. Every Thursday, we do a crossover episode. It's going to be a full episode. It's great because we're jam-packed with talent here. A host, a show for each NFL team. I mean, this is going to be really, really fun season. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I'll talk to you tomorrow.